And a lot of students have a lot of confusions with the terms when you get a driving license. Have any of one of you have heard about DMV? You guys heard about DMV, right? And how many of you heard about DOL? Oh, well. So DOL is a government department to issue you an ID, permit, and driving license. They also host a knowledge test and driving test. It's almost like UW. And under that, there's a lot of different departments. And then for the testings and then for IDs is an under driver license department. And of course, on that, you will see a lot of ID or people call it identification card. Who issue that? Only the governments can issue that. And the card will have your photo, name, their birth, and your signature. So is your passport considered ID documents? Yes. But if your UW student ID card considered ID documents for government? No. So which means when you go into the office, when you just only show your UW ID, would it be enough ID documents? No. So let's continue on. Permit. There's a lot of different ways to call permit. Instruction permit, IP, photo permit, learner's permits, driver's permit, non-photo permits. You know what? Keep it simple. It means the same. What does it mean? That means that you can practice on the road, drive on the road, and take a lessons with someone who is 5 years driving experience sitting next by you. Can you drive alone? No. Okay. So can you drive alone with your ID? No. So only permits you can. Okay. So you might heard a lot of rumors out there. Oh, I get an ID and I'll start practice on my own. Sure. If you get caught, right? But right now we're not talking about you get caught or not. We're talking about legal or not. Okay. And next is knowledge test, KT, written test, paper test, computer test, theory test. It means the same thing. So in the future, if you heard that, keep it simple. Knowledge test. In Washington State, is only taken in a paper. In a bit, I'm going to explain more. And driving tests, you will hear is like skill test, road test, DT. So this all mean the same thing. And next is the driving license and DL. So like I said, DOL is a head department of of everything. So in the future, if you're gonna get a professional license, like engineer license, doctor license, nurse license, driving license, so it's under DOL. And like I said, it's like driving licensing is for the ID. Who has a car? Who owns a car? Okay. So if one day, if you own a car, which you're gonna register your car, you will go to the vehicle license. So when you go on Google do a research and find the location, please search driver license. Okay, that's where you get your permit and driving license and test. And then next is the last is the driving school. Us, we are under partnership with DOL, and then we are the private a company. Okay. And today we're gonna cover the driving license application process, the license transfer from US states or our country's license, and others driver license permits, like I mentioned earlier. So permits, again, you can drive when there's a person sit next by you, have a 5 years driving experience. Driver license, you can drive by yourself. And the next one is the knowledge test and drive test and required documents. So which license can transfer to Washington State without testings. How many people know about this? Can you name one country? I see a raise hand. No? Yeah. South Korea. Yes. And is there anyone from here from Germany? Is there anyone from here from Japan? That's for you. And is anyone from here from Canada, British Columbia province? And anyone from Taiwan? Next, please. Is anyone from Taiwan that have a driving license? Okay, so majority of us cannot do a transfer driver license except couple people from Japan. Was it? Yeah. Anyway, so the driving license has to be valid, and it has to be a hard copy. A lot of students or customer will just show me a phone. I was like, this is my driving license. Well, I can accept that. For example, when you go overseas, you take an airplane, can you show your photocopy of your passport to go overseas? No. So that's why in local US government agency will not accept that too. And like I said, the all US states can able to get the driving license transferred as long as valid. Okay, no knowledge test, no need a driving test. And then others is Canada, is British Columbia province only. If you're from Toronto, can you transfer? No, you need to do all tests. And international students, it doesn't matter any status. International students, US citizens, green card holders, visitors, and they all have to do both tests. And other license that is already expired or is not on the list of the places above, then you will need to do both tests. And the Washington State permit that you have already, you have to do both tests. So a lot of people ask, will the DOL hole punch my out of country's documents? No, they will not. Would they take it away from you? No. And can I just provide my out of country's license to get a transfer? This is a tricky question. Let me repeat. Can I just provide my out of country driver license to transfer? Yes, to transfer, not enough for ID purposes. And I will talk about that in the bit. Okay, next. And these are the steps for the driver's transferable driver license to get in Washington. And like I said, has to be valid, has to be physical copy, and all your foreign documents has to be official translated, and it has to be make sure meet DOL ID requirements. And you have to then you will visit the closest DOL office to get your license. And if you need some refreshment course, then you just come to the driving school to get some lessons. So how many of you are you planning to get a license in Washington State in the next 2 years? And these are the steps to get a license. Number one, we're going to do a pre-apply on the DOL website. Number two, well, actually 1.5, you need to study for the knowledge test. And then next you do the knowledge test and pass it, and then do your lessons. And then after that, pass your drive test and then get your license in DOL. And this is the videos for how to do a pre-apply.
Are you ready to get your Washington State ID, instruction permit, or driving license? Well, I've got good news for you. There's a simple way to pre-apply online, anytime, anywhere. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to get started. If you previously had a Washington State ID, instruction permit, or driving license, you can skip this pre-apply process and begin your knowledge and driving test registration. First things first, head to the Washington State Department of Licensing website. Search pre-apply on the DOL website. Under the pre-apply section, click on Login or Join. Choose License Express for individuals. On this page, fill out your name, email, and create your username and password. Once you've done that, check your email for an activation link. Click on the activation link and it will redirect you to the DOL web portal. Put in your username and password you had created prior. Next, choose the types of documentation you want to apply for. If you're a U.S. citizen, you can choose the enhanced license. Otherwise, you may choose the standard license. Now, input your personal information, including your name, date of birth, and social security number. If you don't have a first or middle name or social security number, simply click the blue link for the next steps. Sometimes the DOL system might stop you from continuing to the next page for multiple reasons. If an issue occurs, please contact the DOL or visit the nearest DOL office to get your DOL number. Continue by filling out your contact information, physical appearance, and residential address. And remember, double-check your address to make sure it's correct. Now, it will ask if you've previously had a driving license or permit ID card. Simply select yes or no. Finally, review all the information you've entered and click the Submit button. Congratulations! You've completed the pre-apply process. You'll find your DOL number in the top left corner. This number will be used to register for all knowledge and driving tests, and it's also your future driver's license number. Again, if you receive an error message from the DOL system, please contact the DOL or visit the nearest DOL office for your DOL number. And there you have it! Pre-applying online for your Washington State ID permit or driving license is quick, easy, and convenient. So what are you waiting for? Get started today!
So previously I mentioned that you can take it from in two places. One is DOL or the driving schools. There are 40 questions, it's multiple choice, and it's 80 to pass. So you cannot have more than 8 incorrect. And no open book, no cell phones, and no online. Only in person. Like I said, it's only in paper. It's valid for 2 years after you took the knowledge test, and there are 7 languages. And these 7 languages are given by the government and is translated by the government. To be honest, if your English is good enough, please take it in English. Because I did see other languages and a lot of people cause frustration the way they translate it. It's even worse than Google Translation. And if you want to pass the knowledge test, the best way is to study the driver guide, and is provided on our website or the DOL website. Or there's some apps online. It's called DMV Genie that you can like do some practice tests as a reference. But the best way is to read through the driver guide. And there's a lot of common thing about the driving test confusion. So you might heard about lessons and warm up and driving test only. So keep in mind, lesson is something that is to learn how to drive the driving foundation, and then you can build a good habits, and then you're able to master all the maneuvers. But the warm up is just only a short term that you already know the skills, but you're just a little rusty. But it's not you don't have enough time to learn a new skill.
For example, I see some of you using chopsticks. For example, this is your dominant left hands for most people. But if one day, let's use your left hand for eating in 2 hours, will you capable to master it? No. So just keep that in mind that warm up is something that you already know already. You just want to get familiar with the car, get familiar with something that I have mistakes on. And the next one is the drive test only. And lots of people ask, can I use my own vehicle or school vehicle? Usually in the driving schools, like they charge the same. Most of the cars are automatic. If you are, what I see a car is almost like you're using a computer. You can use an Apple computer or you can use a Microsoft computer or a Lenovo. It's the same. Okay, as long as you know how to type, it's going to be the same thing. So a car is a car. So your choice of choosing the car. And there's some common questions. Will the warm up or the lessons will be practiced on the drive test routes? But unfortunately, in US, it's not allowed. It is not allowed because there are some Asia some countries they just only practice and on the drive test routes. But unfortunately, we are not allowed. It's illegal. And then, like when you do the test, what kind of IDs should I bring? There's a couple options because it's only for a drive test only, and it's okay to bring only your ID documents. Excuse me, let me repeat. You are going there only for a drive test, and you only have to show who you are. But it's like, but teacher, didn't you tell me that I need to practice on the road? Don't I need a permit? The little friendly thing about DOL is the examiner, us, we can issue you a temporary authorization form only for driving test only. So if you don't want to get a permit, oh, I know how to drive. I just need to do a drive test. So you can go just only an ID card or passport, and you go in, they will issue you a temporary authorization. Next. But if you're going for a warm up or lessons, you must to get a permit or a driving license. Okay. And you might heard there's a couple. One is the photos, and the other one is non-photo. The non-photo one is actually something that DOL has started during pandemic, that people cannot go into office and issue it. So if you heard that DOL previously pre-applied, there's a website, and then you log in your username and password. The portal, after you pass the knowledge test, you can go into the portal and get a non-photo permit for temporary. And you will get a piece of paper, temporary license for 45 days. The hard copy will mail it to you. So since, as you know, there's no photo on it. So if you give it to me, how can I know it's you? So you have to bring your passport along with it, okay? Or Washington State ID along with it. And of course, you can use our country's driver license. Why did I say it's within 1 year in US? Because this is one of the law, but it depends on cities or states. Some is 3 months, some is 6 months, some is 12 months. Overall in Washington State is 12 months. Will the police officer know? No, no. But as you have to keep in mind, like if you have been here more than like half a year to 1 month, get a permit. It's still only $25. Make yourself like safe. Okay, next. And the drive test is you can do it in the DOL office or any other driving schools. And please well prepare and don't try your luck. And you have, like I said, you have to do the knowledge test within 2 years. And it's a point deduction system. Is either you can have automatic failure or 1 to 6 points deductions, and 80% is to pass. And the drive test is about 15 to 20 minutes. And that's why usually if you get a chance to see a drive test slot, usually it's 30 minutes. So the examiner will explain things to you. And the knowledge test, drive test score is valid for 1 year. And what it covers, they don't go on highway, okay? They don't go on city, but they just make sure you test your, like, can you do a left turn, right turns, control intersection or uncontrolled intersections. It's usually about 2 miles around your the location, tested location. Okay. So what kind of ID requirements do they need from the DOL? It's either you transfer your driving license or you're just getting the first time driving license. It's the same ID documents, requirements they need. Okay. So some of you guys might heard about standalone document, A-list document, B-list document. Okay, let me ask you one quick question. Is any one of you in here has a US passport? Good. Then ignore the standalone. Ignore the standalone, okay? So most of you guys are international students, which means you will have a US visa in your passport that is still valid. That's considered A. That's considered A documents. And otherwise, most of the international students, they follow in a B list documents. Let's go on the next one. So like I said, just ignore the standalone for right now. Unless you have a US driver license. Unless you have a US driver license. If you don't, then go to A list. So the first one is a US visa in your foreign passport. There's some student would be so funny. Can I use my Visa card? No, it's not a Visa card. It's the visa on your passport. Or if you have a Japan driver license, that is considered A. So it's either one standalone, 2 A's, 1 A, 2 B's, or 4 B's. Let's go back to the previous again. Okay. So one standalone, 2 A's, 1 A, 2 B's, or 4 B's. Okay. Let's go to, okay. So you guys have A, so that's visa. Okay. Let's go to the next stage. Then you have, all you have to do is just find 2 more in here. Okay. So there are 30 documents of that, but I'm just going to pick the one that is more relevant to you guys. So usually is like you got the foreign passport, that's 1. Okay. You have I-20 or like that's 2. Perfect. Okay. That's all you need. And some students really don't have it. Get married. Get marriage license. That's good. Okay. Okay. You don't get divorced. You get a divorce license. Okay. But you will have a birth certificate definitely. Okay. And then you get a translate. Okay. And if you want to know more information, and there are about 7 languages that you can check on the DOL website. Thank you for being patient, and I like it not to have to use a speaker. What's it called? The speaker. Yes, like I said, will DOL take away the photocopy of my ID? They will not. Okay, they will not hold punch or anything. Next is I mentioned the standard is the US citizens only. So when you do a pre-apply, make sure you're pointing at the standard one. There's nothing wrong. So what is the difference? I don't know, have you guys heard about Real ID? Have you heard about that? Real ID? Okay. So Real ID is actually from other states, but in Washington state only enhanced. Another state called Real ID is for you to fly domestic flights to another state. For example, from here to New York, you can bring your Real ID or driving license to fly. So in Washington state, we have enhanced. Why is that? Is you can fly it and you can drive through Canada as well, because we're so close to Canada, or you can drive through to Mexico. So that's the enhanced is the extra level up than the Real ID. So we only have this 2, and it's okay. You just get a standard, and it's a little cheaper too. And do you know anything about why is horizontal and why is vertical? Does anyone know? Oh, you okay? And that is correct. I should remember you and give you a gift in a bit. Next, please. And I'm so sorry. Let's go back previously. A lot of students who is under 21, they got the driving license, and they said, "Teacher, shall I go back into the DOL and get a vertical one?" I would highly recommend if you go to a bar. If you like, I'm not pushing you to go to a bar or anything. I'm just saying, the people in a bar, they're not going to have a good eyes to look is a horizontal or a vertical. What's your date of birth? They're not going to do the calculation. They only see if you're vertical or horizontal. So if you are planning to just go out with friends in college years, understandable, safely, then get a horizontal after you get 20. Yeah. And next. And how much to get an ID? Usually is ID is $55 for 6 years. Permit is 25, and driver license is 81. Now, I highly recommend if you are planning to get a driving license within 2 years, I would highly recommend this. Try your best, do the knowledge test, and get a permit. $25 instead of 55. Why is that? Because once you get a driving license, oh, in 2 years, I get my driving license. You know what the DOL will do? Hole punch your Washington State ID. I pay for nothing. Doesn't make sense. You waste your $55 for nothing. No matter what, you need to get a permit and then get a driving license if you need to learn how to drive. So unless you say, oh, I'm not planning to drive. I have a question is like, do you have like friends around you that drove? Okay. Do they just recently get the license? Kind of. Like, if you don't trust the driving and you don't drive yet, just take a local transportation. Save your life. Okay? Like I don't recommend that. Like, some student will just, oh, I'm so good. I just only took 4 hours of driving and I got so lucky and get my license. And then, like, you've probably heard of rumors. Oh, he crashed his car. He scratched his bumper and stuff. I don't think I want to sit in his car. You guys are adults now. You're independent. I think you can make a good choice. Sure. Okay. So anyway, let's go back to this permit. I recommend to get a permit if you need it. Don't get an ID. Just waste. Okay, next. Yes, questions?
Can you go back to the
Sure.
previous slide, please?
Yeah.
So after we get a vertical license, like for $81, do we have to pay 20 to get a horizontal?
Well, so once it depends. Your choice. You don't have to.
Oh,
It's just, if you want to go to drink, then yes. You don't want to get a drink and you're gonna stay in a library. Don't get me wrong, I love it. Okay, and it's okay. I'm just saying that my experience is the bar will not accept any vertical one, even you over 21. Even you over 21. So if you want, if you want to say, oh, I'm 20 and a half. Okay, wait for half a month, half a year, and get your driving license when you're 21. Or you just try to get it way before you're 20. Can I save your $20? I'm just saying. You don't have to. Yes,
but we do have to pay $20 to get a
$20 per replace. It's like, because I just want a new picture. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, so if our license got expired and then we try to renew, is it the same process and then we also pay?
So her question is, if my license is expired and then I get a renewal, okay? So I want to clarify that question. Is your driver license from Washington State expired, or is it from another state?
Washington State.
So if from Washington, if it's within 6 years, then you can renew it and just pay a very late fee. It's like a really, like maybe $10 or $15 late fee on top of renewal. Yeah, it was like I just did my renewal and I have like motorcycle and then I have enhanced. It was like $100 some. But if you just a standard driver license, it should be within $80 or so. Yeah. So it's, but why I mentioned it, if you have an out of state driver license that is expired, it's not transferable. You need to do all the tests. So in the future, if you ever go to master, go to on the East Coast, make sure your current driving license is valid before you move over there. Okay. And I want to point out one more. Previously, I mentioned other states, they come to Washington State. If it's valid driving license, they don't need a test. But it's not the same case when you go to other state. It's not the same case. So you have a valid driving license. You go to New York or California or something, you might have to redo the knowledge test. Okay. Because it's based on that state policy. That state policy. So I'm just talking about what a Washington State policy. Okay, next. Previously I mentioned the Real ID enhanced and standard, and like I said, the Real ID is only for flying, and the enhanced is passing the Canada border. Yep. Any questions? So if you don't have any questions yet, I do have a lot of questions on the next slides. So maybe to give you an idea of what kind of questions you're going to ask. Okay. Let's see. A lot of students will ask, can I use my friend to practice how to drive or use it for a drive test? The answer is yes or no. Because the best way is have your friend add your name in the car insurance. Because the car insurance is a lot of different policy. Maybe some policy is only insured that driver. Only that policy insured that family member. Because you guys are not family members. In US, the insurance not followed by cars. Okay, is followed by the people, by the person. Okay. For example, I have a friend's wife. He wants his wife to do a drive test as soon as possible. And I told him, well, please have you guys practice. And unfortunately, she crashed a tree. And then that person called me, but you told me to have my wife practice with him. I was like, well, and then the insurance lady told him, but you signed a paper, said you're the only driver. So the insurance will not pay a dime for that damage. An easy way to understand. When you go to a rental company, why they show sure is who is the driver? Oh, you're the driver. Oh, if I have additional driver, you have to add on. So it's the same thing in this situation. So if you're planning to use your friend's car or you're lending your car to your friend, please think thoroughly. Just let them say, I'll just use this driving school car. Okay, it's the same cost anyway. Okay. Okay, anything? Have you guys heard about number 6? Have you guys heard about the international driving permit? International, like, okay, so a lot of people ask, I have, for example, I have a Taiwanese driving license. Can I get the IDP in US? No. The only way you can get the IDP is you can only get it in the same country where you get your license. Like you have a Chinese driving license, you get it in China, okay, or Japan or Japan. Okay, so in US, if you really want to get an IDP, you will go to AAA for that. Yeah. Anyone you want me to answer? If not, I will just go for a next, and there's a next slide too. So, anything in here? Oh, a lot of people say, can I take some refreshing course from the driving school or anyone? Even I have a Washington State driving license. The answer is yes. A lot of people say, oh, I thought I have a license. I can only practice on my own. No, it's not. You can practice with the driving school if needed. And then
We have a question in the chat.
oh, nice. Okay. Well, there is a big,
Question.
that is like a paragraph to me. Do we actually need Washington State driving license to drive? According to you, if you have a valid driving license, so is that person a military person though? That's the key.
There you go.
Do we actually need a Washington State driver license to drive? According to a non-resident and visitor from DOL, if you are a non-resident or short-term visitor, you can operate a non-motor vehicle if you have a driving license in your home state. Okay, the country, and you're just like, okay, is that person a military, like active duty person? So you would require like the second one, students who are here to further their education and who are considered non-residents. But the key is right over here. If you have a valid driving license, the key, do you have a valid driving license from another country? Okay, that's the key. Well, you cannot just read the first one. It's like, do I need a Washington State driving license? No. Like if you have, okay, you don't need to have a Washington State driving license if you already have an our country driving license. However, within 1 year, you should transfer it. Okay, that does it help a little bit? Yeah. Yeah,
Think there's
because
a
it depends on.
there's a second questions.
That person. Now that unfortunately that I cannot answer is that linked to your visa. The US visa is actually is the like federal issue. Federal issue is not Washington state issue. What I heard, however, what I heard is for example, California, that the DMV, they will check your visa, for example, is expired in 2026, and then they will make your driving license expire on 2026. But in Washington state, it doesn't matter. It's like, oh, it's either you can issue a 6 years one, or 8 years one. Once you issue, you can have 6 years or 8 years. But other states, they will follow your visa expiration dates. Yes. So number 20 is like, due to my personal issue, I have to be away from the US and let my knowledge test expire and a driver test expire. Can I have exception not to redo all my tests? Unfortunately, no. Only the pandemic, they have that little grace period, but it's already passed. So please don't let it expire. Yeah.
My question is number 14.
You're 14. Can I rent a car with my foreign driving license? It depends, unfortunately. It depends on the rental company. And it depends. Technically, yes, but the rental company said, no, you cannot, then you can. Yeah. Yes.
I don't, you know, when you mentioned that very regularly need a visa to cross over to Canada, is this kind of like right? The visa was like or
So you were saying that, but the visa is because you're not US citizen. Are you?
exactly.
So then you cannot apply for enhanced driving license.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. Anything else? Yes.
If we have a standard Canada, can we, like, if we have one from Canada and we have the Canadian visa and everything, can we drive in Canada without standardized?
So do you have a driving license in the first place?
I have a standard.
Okay, well, you have a standard driving license. Yes, you can pass the border. You can drive to Canada. I drive to Canada all the time. Yes, you can drive to Canada. But if you're asking, can a standard driving license to go past Canada for your status? Most likely not. You need an I-20. You have to prove that you're coming back for school and everything. But driving through there, okay, no problem. Yeah. But make sure you have, all. Okay, consider Canada is another country. When you travel another country, you have to bring all your documents. How's that? Yeah.
Question in the chat.
So that's not all. I just go to. Yes. Yes.
I think the
So is it okay to ask which country? Since you type. So if you meant it's not the transferable one. I assume this question is. So the question is, if I have a valid driving license from my home country that does not fall under the list provided, you mean the list provided, you meant by the transferable driving license? Okay, yes, then unfortunately you have to do all the tests. Do you need to get a permit? No, because he has our country driving license, but he will require to do a knowledge test and a drive test. So he can use his out country driving license, practice, and then do a drive test, and then get a Washington state license. You're welcome. And keep in mind, a lot of people will say, I have a driving license back home, but I have some students, they never own a car. They only have the license, maybe they drive less than 10 or 15 times in the lifetime of the last 1 year to 2 years. You have to keep in mind that if you don't practice, you won't able to pass the drive test in US. And plus, some countries, they drive on the left-hand side of the road, and US, we drive on the right-hand side of the road. And we have a lot of stop signs, we have a lot of four-way stops, a lot of right of way. So if you don't know the rules that clearly, you might fail the drive test. I have some people who have 20, 30 years driving experience, and they still drive past that, they still fail the drive test. Maybe they didn't check the blind spots. They have a lot of bad habits, or they brake for no reason. If you brake, then you will get hit from the back. Okay, so they have to be careful. You have to understand that when you come to a different country, you just need to know the culture and the rules. Yes. Huh? 19. So I took my knowledge test more than 2 years, and my permit still valid. Can I do my driving test and get my license? No. Unfortunately, no. Because the knowledge test has to be valid by the time when you get a driver license. So the permit itself, yes, is valid that you can still practice, but the score in the system is not. Oh, and some student will ask, I passed my knowledge test. Can I check my score in the student portal? Unfortunately, no. Is the only place you can see is the driving school and the DOL. Okay, it will only see your passing score. In your portal, you will not be able to see it. And the driving school, we need to upload the score within 24 hours. So once you pass, wait about 24 hours, and then you can go get a permit, or you just ignore it, and then you just do some practice and do a drive test. It depends what you want to do. Hopefully that helps everyone today. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and there's no more question on
Oh, okay.
Zoom. So yeah, thank you everyone. For people on Zoom, thank you very much for coming. And as long as you guys already sign up for, do the sign up, I can share it once more.
Share the sign up one more time. If you guys fill out this form, we could send this slide and the recording to you guys.
Yeah.